Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie and it's a beautiful day. It's the very first week in May and we just had a huge rainstorm. We had almost a full inch, actually I think we had over an inch of rain for the first time in a long time. That's the most moisture I've seen in a very long time. My landscape really needed it. But today it's time for one of my projects and I wanted to take you along with me, and it's how I revamp my Greenstalks in the spring. Now, I am not an affiliate of Greenstalk. There are so many YouTube creators out there that are affiliates of Greenstalk, and maybe someday I'll become one. I just haven't reached out to them yet. But I absolutely love growing them. I have 3 Greenstalks on my property, and they have performed beautifully. So let me show you what my Greenstalks look like right now, and then talk about how we're going to amend the soil and get them ready for planting. Now, this is what the Greenstalk looks like that's in my front yard. We've got everything we need to amend them, except for maybe some of my organic espoma fertilizer. But we've already taken it apart. The rain has rained on it heavily. And this is what they look like after about, let's see, it's been almost a year since I've added soil to them. So they haven't used as much soil this year. So let me go show you the 2 up on my deck. This one right here, I think is an original Greenstalk. You know, like I said, I'm not an affiliate and I don't remember the names very well, but I have a leaf and an original. And I think this is the original. Anyway, they're very deep. Let's go show you the other ones. Now, I think this one right here that I haven't finished amending is the leaf, and behind it is the original. So you can kind of see that the depth is different. The size or the circumference is the same, but the depth is different. So the leaf, it's better to grow greens or things that don't have deep roots. I've grown things like beets, carrots, peppers, all sorts of different things. Micro-dwarf tomatoes grow really well in these, and a lot of flowers and herbs. Now this one is done. I finished amending this a couple of days ago. We'll show you how I did it. But as you can see, I try to keep the soil as close to the lip as possible. I ran out of fertilizer, so I didn't finish these in the bag. Once I get the fertilizer back, I've got a maple little seedling. Once I get the rest of the fertilizer, then I'll finish amending these. Now, there are different parts of the Greenstalk that function together and make it work really well. The first one that I have here is a base. This base spins really nicely, and it makes it so you can turn the Greenstalk easily. I did not get the base with the casters on the bottom so you can move it, because I don't move my Greenstalks around. But if I wanted to add casters to this so I could move it, I could. Then you have each planting level. And you have these gray discs. Now, these gray discs are waterers. If you can see, there's little holes down at the bottom. And what we're going to do after we amend the soil is we're going to line up these little holes with each planting pocket, and that's how it collects water. And we'll show you how it works when we put everything together. But the first thing that we needed to do, and I've already done it because it's kind of hard to show on camera because I end up getting so dirty doing it, is we needed to loosen up the soil. As you can see, the soil is really loose. What I did is I dug all the way down to the bottom of the Greenstalk and loosened up all the soil. Now, a lot of people are really careful about having dirt fall down the hole, but you know, right now it doesn't matter if the dirt falls down the hole because it's just going to hit the ground. Once I start putting them together, I'm going to make sure dirt doesn't fall down the hole. So I went through each one of these levels and I loosened up the soil all the way down to the bottom, and now we need to add some more soil and fertility. Now, the soil in my Greenstalks are only about a year old, so I'm not going to completely replace the soil. The soil is definitely going to need some added fertility because the plants from last year used it all up. But if the soil was really old and full of roots, I would replace it. Right now, I don't need to. So let's show you the soil that I am going to top it off with. So this soil right here is my homemade potting mix, and I'm going to show you a little video about how I put it together. But this potting soil is made with coco coir. I love using coco coir. We have some compost in here, and we have some perlite. Now for nutrients, I added an organic fertilizer, and we're going to talk about using organic and conventional fertilizers in potting mix a little bit later. And I also put a little bit of worm castings in here for some fertility. So this is quite a fertile soil. Looks like it hasn't been mixed up as well as I'd like, but it'll get mixed up. The other thing I'm going to add is my homemade compost, mostly because I ran out of worm castings and I wanted to add a few more worm castings. I'll probably need to sift this because we got some sticks in it. But this is my homemade compost, so I'm going to put some of that in there. Then I'm going to add my conventional fertilizer. Now when growing plants in pots or in greenstalks are basically a glorified pot, the only fertility that they get is whatever is in the potting soil, and that can get used up pretty quickly, even if you use a really good organic fertilizer. Now organic fertilizers are not in the form that plants are able to utilize. The microorganisms in the soil need to break it down so the plants can use them. And in potting soil, there's not that many microorganisms. So it's really difficult to get plants to grow really well in pots with just organic fertilizer. Now I do use fish emulsion, and fish emulsion helps a lot, but I also like to use Osmocote. This is a slow release synthetic fertilizer. It's not going to hurt my plants. Synthetic fertilizers do not hurt plants. But what it is it's a fertilizer that is available immediately to the plants. And it is also slow release. This one, you only have to use once every 4 months. So I use this in conjunction with the organic fertilizer that I mix in with the soil and with fish emulsion. And I'll show you a picture of what my green stalks look like near mid-season. So it obviously works really, really well. So let's get the extra soil added to my pots, and then we're going to show you how we put it together. Now for the compost, I'm just going to sprinkle a few handfuls on it, but first I want to pick out all of the little elm seedlings. We have an elm tree across the road that spreads its seedlings everywhere, and I don't want those growing in these green stalks. They're a nasty, nasty tree. But anyway, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of compost over each. We don't need a lot. Pulling out all of the bigger chunks. This will just give a little bit of extra fertility. Now let's top it up with a little more potting soil. Now the one thing that you do not do, and I've learned the hard way to work smarter, not harder, is do not pat and compact the dirt down. Now what happens if you compact and pat all of this potting soil down is you're going to cause your green stalk to warp and they won't fit together. Don't ask me how I know. Well, okay, I'll tell you. We had a full season where I couldn't get one of the levels to attach to the other levels the entire season because I had compacted it down too tightly. So you're just going to make it nice and loose and bring the soil level up to the lips. Now that I've got them filled up, I'm going to go through and mix them in a little bit. So I'm not going to mix it all the way down to the bottom. I'm just going to mix it into the top. This is where the plant roots usually stay. And any fertility will get washed down through the bottom. We're going to make sure that this hole is showing and that it's clear. And don't push the soil down, like I said before. We're just going to smooth it, not compact it. Now this can get pretty messy. What I have seen some people do is put tarps down and fill it up over the tarps, and that way you can keep your deck, if you're putting it on a deck, or any other place clean. But I'm just going to sweep all of this soil into the planting beds and we should be fine with that. So I'm not going to be using a tarp or worrying about the mess that I'm making. Now what I'm going to do is go through the whole surface and sprinkle the whole surface with this Osmocote fertilizer. We're going to do a good amount. Try to stay within what the instructions say, but I'm not going to measure it. So this is going to be feeding my plants really well for 4 months. So this is what it looks like with them all fertilized, all filled up. Now let's add the lids to them. So we're going to make sure that the hole is clear. Doesn't mean it needs to be clean. It's just going to be clear, and you can see that the holes are lined up with the pockets. We'll do that with each one. This is the only area where I push down to compact. We're not doing it to compact, we're doing it so that it'll fit. Now it doesn't need to be clean. You just need to be able to see through each one of those holes, which I am able to do. Now we're going to dump all the dirt that I spilled into this out of here. And then I'm going to sweep up this area a little bit. So I just swept the area where I'm going to put the base. Put the paste down, and then you can face the tube anywhere you want the water to drain. And I don't care where the water drains here, just out into the soil. That's where we want that. And now we're going to start stacking the planters. Now this is going to be a little difficult. Like I said, it rained last night. It's really preferable to do these when they're drier, especially when you're as small as I am, because they can be pretty heavy. Make sure they're level. This one's not going to be completely level, but it's been on in this spot for 3 years and is done just fine. Now we're going to add the next level. You're going to twist it so that the sides line up. Now we're going to show you how these line up when I do a taller level, because it's just going to be easier for me to film. So let me get these levels put together and show you how it looks. Let me get you a little closer and show you how it looks and what makes these so stable. Now these have been in 70-mile-an-hour winds. I've only had them topple over once. And that was one time on the top of my deck where they're fully exposed. We had 70-mile-an-hour winds and they were completely dry and full of plants. It was just before I took them apart. And that was the only time they've ever fallen over. Now if you look at this right here, you've got these little feet. These need to go over here, just like that one did. And the other thing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to lift it up to show you, there's some little ridges underneath. Maybe you can see it right there. This part needs to line up with those, and that's why I was pounding on it a little bit to see if we could get them to line up. So let's see if we can get this to line. So what we're going to do is manipulate this a little bit so that you feel it get seated. And then I'm going to pound that in so you can see that seated, but it's not completely seated because the other ones aren't. So let's get the other one seated. So this is nice because when it twists, we can work with it easier. You can see that one's seated in. It wasn't seated before. This one's not seated. But as we pound on it, it gets seated in nicely. And this is what makes it stable. So that is all nice and seated in there. And this is a hole that goes all the way down to the bottom. And this is how the watering is going to happen. So the water collects in these little trays. It fills up to this point, drains down, and then whatever's left over after it finishes draining down to the bottom layers, it waters each one of these little planting pockets. So the watering is really, really simple on this. And let's show you how the top level goes on. Now this is the top watering tray. It also has a hole, and it has the little holes that go over each planting pocket. So let's put this on. Let's make sure that I can see through each one of those holes. That one might be a little bit blocked. It's a little dirty. I'll rinse it out a little bit later, but we're just going to get this finished. So what we do is we take this up at the top here, And it's the same thing. We've got to clip in the clips, make sure the clips are tight. And this is why you don't overfill it, because if you overfill your trays, you're not going to be able to get all the clips on. It's not going to fit. So now each of these are properly seated. If they're not properly seated, then what's going to happen? Let's get rid of that little spider web. This could fly off in a windstorm, but when it's properly connected like that, it's not going to fall off. So when we fill it, I usually fill it to this top line right here. If it's extra dry, if it's been extra windy, sometimes I'll fill it up twice. But this is all put together and ready to plant. Now I don't have time to plant this out today because it's getting dark, it's late. So that'll be another video, but let me show you the plants that I'm going to put in it because I've got quite a few of them. I work at Sun River Gardens and it's really, really difficult to make it home with an actual paycheck when all I want to do is come home with plants. So let's show you what I got today. Now I love my Greenstalks for the beauty and the color that they provide. I also love to put herbs and edibles in them. So this year I don't have my peppers yet. You know, I do have some growing inside, but I'll probably choose some different peppers for the Greenstalks. But I love to put peppers. I did not grow the micro dwarf tomatoes. I also love micro dwarf tomatoes in there. They're really pretty and they grow really well. But I am going to put beets in there of different colors. Beans, the three colored beans, the purple, yellow, and green, those grow exceptionally well and they do well all season long in there. And then I will be putting these flowers. Now the top is usually saved for hummingbirds. So we've got a wild thing salvia and another salvia I don't know the name of. I guess I could read the tag, but it's just a blue salvia for the hummingbirds. We'll choose some more later as I go more plant shopping. We've got some gorgeous colored petunias that go with this really unique marigold. Look at the color of that. It's almost orange, but it's a more peach color. And it goes, let me show you it with the petunias. It goes really well. I don't normally like petunias, but when I saw that color combination, I said, yes, definitely needs to happen. We're going to have the purple ruffles, we're going to have the purple opal basil. I definitely always grow those in my Greenstalks because of the color and the scent and the fragrance. And I also use it. Then we're just going to add a regular, like the marigolds that I always grow. Just the bicolored yellow and orange. So there's that. Then I found this gorgeous variegated oregano. So this is what we're going to have in each one of the Greenstalks, plus beans, plus beets, and whatever else I find. So that's exciting. And then in the backyard, I always love to harvest chamomile out of the top of my Greenstalk. So I'll get each one of the backyard Greenstalks, the two of them that back there, are going to get chamomile on the top. Now I'm not going to be planting these plants probably this week. They're going to go inside and stay inside my warm grow room because it's pretty cold outside still. Next Sunday is Mother's Day, and after that I think the weather should be okay to plant those. I think they'll survive. We're not going to hit freezing temperatures, but here in Utah you can get that rogue cold night that wipes everything out, and I don't want to chance that with these plants. So those are going to stay on my deck until nightfall, and then at nighttime they'll come inside. Now I'd love to hear if you have a Greenstalk and what you like growing in them. Do you like growing edibles? Do you like growing flowers? Do you like to have the monoculture, like all just, you know, maybe nasturtiums or all petunias in it? Any way you grow them, they're absolutely gorgeous. I love Greenstalks. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.